The establishment is in panic mode as support for the Save America Act reaches unprecedented levels across party lines. Even Democrats are breaking ranks, demanding voter ID requirements, while deep blue states scramble to hide evidence of illegal voter registration. What they're desperately trying to conceal will shock you. Now, this is not just about election integrity anymore. This is about the future of our republic itself. When Alabama catches over 3,000 illegal aliens registered to vote, and that's just one red state actually looking, imagine what's happening in California or New York or Illinois. Your vote could literally be canceled out by someone who shouldn't even be in this country. The political implications are staggering. 83% of Americans support voter ID, including 71% of Democrats. Even Senator Fetterman is demanding voter ID, infuriating his own party leadership. This bipartisan momentum is forcing establishment Republicans to consider nuking the filibuster to get this done. Speaking of things the government does not want you to know about, I need to tell you about something critical to our national security. I want to talk to you about a metal most people never think about, but governments and defense contractors think about every day. Now, you've heard me talk about gold and silver for years, but there's an opportunity that has now caught my attention. It's layered deeper in critical minerals, and one metal in particular, titanium, it is. While China controls 90% of rare earth processing, titanium represents America's strategic vulnerability. Every fighter jet, missile defense system, every critical infrastructure project, it all depends on it. But here's what's alarming. We're almost entirely dependent on foreign suppliers, including countries that aren't exactly our allies. And SAGA Metals is positioning Americans to benefit from this national security crisis through strategic mineral investments. When national security meets investment opportunities, smart Americans pay close attention. And I want you to take a look at the briefing that has been prepared exclusively for Next News viewers. It is linked down below, and we thank SAGA Metals for supporting our work. Now back to this SAVE Act momentum. Here's where it gets really interesting. Trump used his Super Bowl interview to call for immediate passage of the SAVE Act, telling Americans that even Democrats want this done. Meanwhile, Senator Mike Lee is pushing to eliminate what he calls the zombie filibuster, arguing it's time to make senators actually speak again instead of hiding behind procedural games. We have this. Dick Durbin calls the SAVE Act a terrible idea, and state elections are already secure. When asked by Allison in the Know of Lindell TV whether he would support the SAVE Act, he was blunt. Let's see, I think we have it here. Let me just refresh the page, maybe. Well, I know we have Elizabeth Warren here. Let me just refresh this page. Maybe that'll help. It was there just a second ago. We'll get those clips for you. Let's see if it'll play now. Okay, well, maybe it will load a little bit. I'll get that for you. Actually, let me see here. Let's go to this one. This is Eric Schmidt says he's aggressively pushing to pass the SAVE Act in the Senate, accusing Democrats of wanting illegal aliens to vote to boost their election chances, while arguing the bill is meant to ensure eligible voters aren't disenfranchised. I'll get those other clips ready for you in just a moment, guys.
Democrats want to have people who are here illegally vote for them. That's the God's honest truth. And I think if 2024 represented anything, Harris, it was a return of common sense. There couldn't be more of a common sense proposal than saying you have to provide voter ID to vote, just like when you check into a hotel or you buy an airline ticket, just to prove who you are. But I think it's really interesting and telling that two issues are converging at the same time. This issue of illegal immigration and this issue of voter ID. The Democrats aren't really quiet about it anymore. They're sort of saying the quiet part out loud. loud, which is they want to bring in 15 to 20 million people in here illegally, and they want them to vote for them because they know their ideas are terrible and they can't win elections otherwise. And so what Republicans are saying is, no, look, we want the return of common sense. We want to make sure people are who they say they are. We want to make sure our elections are secure and that people aren't disenfranchised, the people who actually are supposed to vote, by allowing people who aren't supposed to vote actually vote.
Well, another case of rules for thee and not for me, apparently, for Dems. Critics are calling out Democrat Senator John Ossoff for asking campaign event goers to show government ID at the door. There are a lot of pictures of this going on, but he doesn't.
Yeah, show your ID to get in. Let me see if I can pull up that that clip for you here real quick, and because it's a good one. Here it is. I'll just go straight to the page. Here it is.
The SAVE Act is expected to be brought this week to the floor for a vote. Do you support voter ID for elections?
Well, it depends on what you mean by voter ID. When you want to say that everyone has to produce a birth certificate, including women whose married names are not on their birth certificates, that creates a real problem for me.
Well, isn't that just one of the first steps in getting married is getting a new ID?
Actually, it's not getting a new birth certificate, because part of what the SAVE Act does is it says most driver's licenses around the country won't work as an ID. And that creates a terrible problem.
But you need an ID to do just about anything in America. Shouldn't you need one to vote in
elections? You don't
elections?
need a birth certificate. I hope you know that.
Thank you. The SAVE Act is expected to be brought this week to the floor for a vote. Do you support voter ID for elections?
Well, it depends on what you mean.
Yeah. It's going to make it hard for women to vote. Sure it is. Just another distraction by Elizabeth Warren, another talking point. And here's that Dick Durbin clip. Let's get that up for you here.
The SAVE Act is expected to be brought to the floor for a vote this week. What are your thoughts on that? Are you going to support the SAVE Act?
Not at all. It's a terrible idea. This notion that we want to put more obstacles in the paths of voters is just what Donald Trump wants. Fewer people voting. I want every legal citizen in America to be able to vote without obstacles.
Do you think requiring an ID to vote in elections is making it harder? I mean,
it's more than that. It's more than an ID. It's proof that you were born in America. So what are we talking about, a passport or a birth certificate? Got one of those handy with you in your purse? I doubt it.
Well, if you're going to the voting poll and you know what you need to bring, I mean, it's just one of those documents, right?
Well, just one of those documents. Think about securing your birth certificate before you go in to vote. You know, why are we creating these obstacles? We have the lowest incidence of fraud and misuse of voting in the world, and Donald Trump wants to put more obstacles in the path of voters. I want everybody legally entitled to vote to have that option without complications.
Thank you very much.
Sure. Complications, right? No, it's only complications to your scheme. That's where the complications actually arise. Because you can't cheat in your elections anymore. Now, Senator John Fetterman is infuriating Democrats. I do not believe it's unreasonable to show ID just to vote. John Fetterman always surprises me.
And now, me as a Democrat, I do not believe that it's unreasonable or to show ID just to vote. And I remind everybody that less than a year ago in Wisconsin, you know, they added that to the Constitution by a 63%, passing, to put that in the Constitution that you have to show ID to vote. And they also elected a very, very liberal justice into their Supreme Court. So it's not a radical idea for regular Americans to show your ID to vote. And it's absolutely, those things are not Jim Crow or anything. Of course, that's part of an awful, awful legacy of our nation for so long ago. But where we are now, trying to find a way forward, just trying to call balls and strikes, seeing what's unreasonable, hopefully we don't have to do, and pay the TSA people and everyone, secure our border, and focus on deporting all of those kinds of criminals, wherever they are. That's the guy that votes for that and supports that. as a Democrat, and I don't ever want to vote to shut our government down again.
Right. And you are very much where the people are. Look, that's what most people would like to see. Prioritize the criminals. Take the criminals out of the country who are.
So Fetterman shocking his own party yet again. Creates the perfect opening for Trump to pile on the pressure during the big media moment. Trump called on Congress to pass the Save America Act during a Super Bowl interview.
President Trump is drawing attention to his SAVE Act when asked about his plans to unify the country during his Super Bowl interview yesterday.
Well, you know, we're working on the Save America Act, which is going to secure up a lot of things, but secure up our voting. I think people would like to do it, and I think Democrats would too. And you ask Democrats, it's polling at 82% with Democrats.
Meanwhile, Democrat Senator Adam Schiff is being confronted on this polling showing an overwhelming 83% of Americans supporting requiring a photo ID to vote.
71% of Democrats favor requiring photo ID. Is that something that you can support? And if not, why not?
It's still going to be something, John. It's still going to be something that disenfranchises people.
Well, no date has been set yet for a vote on the SAVE Act.
Yeah. Pencil neck Adam Schiff knows better than the Americans who demand it. With Trump's Super Bowl endorsement locked, the focus shifts to the Senate mechanics that could make or break the bill. Mike Lee, don't confuse the zombie filibuster with the real thing. It's arguably the opposite of the real thing. Time to make senators speak again and pass the SAVE Act. What is the zombie filibuster?
In the coming days, there will be a lot of chatter about the talking filibuster. Some are going to say that it's getting rid of the filibuster, that it's tantamount to nuking the filibuster, and that we can't get rid of the Senate tradition. Well, keep in mind, what we've got right now isn't actually a filibuster. It's the zombie filibuster. It's the evil twin brother, the evil dark side manifestation of the real filibuster. Filibuster, you see, is about protecting each senator's right to debate. The zombie filibuster allows them to have the benefits of the filibuster without actually having to speak. Got to make them speak.
Make them speak. Interesting. Lee's filibuster strategy is getting serious traction. And now there's momentum building. Support hitting an all-time high for Leader Thune to nuke the zombie filibuster and pass the Save America Act. People demand voter ID and citizenship verification. I'm with Mike Lee. Get it done. And then we have this. 3,251 illegal aliens were caught being registered to vote in Alabama. No, there's no such thing as voter fraud. Imagine how many illegals are registered to vote in deep blue states like California. Alabama's numbers make the case, but the kicker is how popular this idea is with voters. Congressman Byron Donalds, did you know 83% of Americans support voter ID, including 95% of Republicans and 71% of Democrats?
It's a Pew survey, okay? Here's a Pew survey, okay? All Americans right now, different parties, on support for requiring some form of photo ID. You're at 83%. Among Democrats, you're at 71. Republicans are at 95. Doesn't seem to be much of a debate based on those numbers, Will.
Can I give you two more numbers that I think tell this entire story as well, Bill, from that same Pew Research study? Something like 86% of Latinos support voter ID and 71% of Black Americans support voter ID. Of course, why is that important? Because to listen to Hakeem Jeffries or any other Democrat tell the story, it is the voter suppression targeted at minority voters. They tell minority voters, they tell America, the Black Americans, Latino Americans don't have the wherewithal to get an ID. Meanwhile, those very same people they purport to speak for say, you know what, that makes a lot of sense. You should prove who you are before you vote. Which, by the way, Bill, would put us in the same pool as virtually every other country on the face of the planet.
I love it. Yeah, all those other racist nations, right? The polling numbers are devastating for opponents, and now here's a final call to action.
If my 5-year-old needs a birth certificate in order to attend free public school to prove his identity, then you need a birth certificate to prove your citizenship in order to vote. If my 5-year-old needs a birth certificate to prove his identity in order to play t-ball or Pop Warner football or many other extracurricular activities, then you need to present your birth certificate in order to prove your citizenship in order to vote. The fact that children need to show birth certificates in order to be enrolled in school, in order to participate in extracurricular activities, and in some cases to even go to a certain doctor or to go to certain summer camps, then you bet your ass that you need to prove your citizenship to vote in our elections. And for anybody that wants to say, well, this is going to disenfranchise people, how? How? If you were married or divorced, or there was any sort of name change, there is a paper trail that follows. Either a marriage certificate that proves your name change or a divorce decree to also prove a potential name change. And both of those presented in conjunction with your birth certificate can get you a real ID or a passport. Yeah, but it's an amendment. Everybody has the right to do that and shouldn't have to jump through a bunch of hoops. Tell that to the people who own the 500 million firearms within this country, and the fact that most of us can't walk into a store and leave with a firearm that we purchased that day. The moral of the story is that it is okay to disenfranchise children, for them to play sports and go to school. It is okay to disenfranchise those that want to join the military. And it is okay to disenfranchise those who want to participate in their Second Amendment. But God forbid you make people prove their citizenship in order to have a safe and secure election. The left loses their ever-loving minds. Somebody make it make sense.
No one's ever going to make it make sense. We try to make sense of it here every day. But the mask is completely off now. When you need ID for literally everything, enrolling your kid in school, playing t-ball, buying beer, but requiring ID to vote is somehow Jim Crow 2.0. You know exactly what's happening. They can't win fair elections, so they're fighting tooth and nail against common sense. The Save America Act represents the most important election integrity legislation in decades, and the momentum is unstoppable. With 83% public support, Trump's endorsement, even Democrats like Fetterman breaking ranks. The establishment's resistance is crumbling. This is about ensuring only American citizens decide American elections, period. The fact that they're fighting this so hard tells you everything about how they have been winning elections. Do you believe requiring ID to vote is just basic common sense? Let me know in the comments, and while you are engaging, check out the Next News merch shop to show your support for real journalism that puts America first.
The system controls information. Information control is power. They don't want you to see this. The truth only survives together. They don't want this shared. Share this now.